big deal on Friday as well. JSW Paints won the race to acquire Akzo Nobel, albeit at a price lower than the current market price. But what does this mean for the sector? Two industry veterans join in to talk about this further. First, Abhijit Roy, MD and CEO of Berger Paints India. And joining in is Ashok Kumar Gupta, former managing director of Shalimar Paints as well. Gentlemen, both great having you. Thanks for joining in. And Mr. Roy, really good to talk to you this morning. You would have had time now to digest the deal, look at one more competitor or a larger competitor now in the fray as opposed to Akzo Nobel was, right? Let's put it that way. What does this mean for a company like yours?
Nothing much actually, because both these companies have been there for years now, JSW for 6-7 years and Akzo Nobel for 70-80 years. And both of them have been in operation in India. It's just that there is a change in ownership. I suppose, might be a change in style of functioning to some extent. But beyond that, it creates no impact. Overall, the industry just gets consolidated into a few players possibly, and that's it.
Does that mean, Mr. Roy, that over a period of time, the industry will, how do I say, maintain price discipline? Or does it mean that because there are 4 large players now in the fray, there could be quote-unquote pricing wars?
So, this industry has been very competitive. Pricing is an issue which has been there on the table for a long time. Each company has its own pricing policies and they play according to that strategy. As far as we are concerned, we have always maintained that, we will grow profitably. We are not going to go down the path of, trying to play the pricing game. In that way to gain market share. So our market share gains have been coupled with profitability growth, so that's something which we continue to maintain. If some place, resort to pricing, discounting or some sort of that, which we get to see once in a while in the paint industry, we have seen it many times. It yields short-term results, but then in the medium to long term, it doesn't yield the desired result.
Let me get a sort of a larger view from Ashok Kumar Gupta as well. Mr. Gupta, thank you so much for speaking with us here at NDTV Profit this morning. Just trying to understand that even as there is all of this hectic M&A in the space and in the paint space, there's an overall trend and a worry about whether demand is actually growing at the pace it should with the sector itself. What's your perspective on that angle?
So demand is growing at around 6-7% year on year even now, though it was growing at much larger pace of 10 to 12% earlier. So demand is growing. Only thing is the players or the production capacity is growing much faster. With Birla Opus coming and JSW coming in the last 5-6 years, I think we have overcrowding, overcapacity, which is creating the problem for everyone.
In terms of, since you're sitting in that sense on the outside, but you know the space so well, and even though Mr. Roy is here on the same screen as you, Mr. Gupta, a slightly tough question. Who do you think is going to come out on top in this paints race?
See, today you are going to have 4 main players, almost all equal. Asian Paint, Berger, Mr. Roy, and then of course Birla Opus is coming up very fast with a lot of innovative things. And then this Akzo Nobel, JSW. I think there is going to be a tough fight, at least for number 2 position. Number 1 position may not be challenged now, but number 2 position, all the 3 will try to go for. And they're already trying very hard for this. So it's going to be tough for each one of them. Ultimately, Berger will have an advantage because they're already there. Akzo Nobel and JSW, as Mr. Roy mentioned, can have problems because they are coming from 2 different backgrounds, multinational versus national. So it's going to be tough. And third thing is, JSW is not getting the R&D. In paint industry, market spend and R&D play a very important role. So I think that will be a disadvantage to JSW.
Mr. Roy, I'm just trying to understand from this perspective, right? On the one hand, you can say discounting, but on the other hand, discoverability. And while there are brands, yours included, that are household names, there will be other players that spend more on marketing. And so from that perspective, I'm just wondering whether we're entering into a slightly, obviously, more competitive landscape, but will that have a bearing on margins for yourself and for your peers?
Yeah, so this has been going on, as I said, in this industry, this type of phases have existed earlier as well. There were MNCs who came in with very powerful brands. In fact, Dulux, which just got sold, was a powerful brand. Internationally, it's quite well known. And similarly, Nippon had come in earlier as well. So there have been players who are very big players in the world. Sherwin-Williams had been there, which is world's number one. So they had all come into India with very powerful brands, internationally well known. And in India also, they spent a lot of money trying to build up their brand presence. It's not that easy, so it takes a lot of time, effort, energy, on the ground to build up the brands, so uh, it will, in the short term, there will be intensification of competition as is expected. We had seen that last year, and this year as well, we are expected to see, further intensification of competition to some extent, but it will settle down next year onwards. Everyone knows that this is it. Each one finds its own fitting, and has its own share of business in the market. So we see that this actually energizes a lot of the internal incumbents to become more efficient. So from that perspective, it's a good thing.
Very quick last question, Mr. Roy, from my end. Can you give us a sense of utilization? Of course, there's seasonality, but broadly, where do you anticipate that utilization for yourself in the remainder of FY26?
Meaning you are talking of capacity
utilization, yes.
It's around 65 to 70%, across all our plants put together. So normally in the season times, it tends to move up, while in the non-seasonal months, it tends to come down. So that is where it is. The capacity is not a constraint for anyone, in this industry. It doesn't cost so much to put up capacity either, compared to some other industries, say like steel or cement. So therefore, that is not something which is, of great importance. What is of great importance, or greater importance, or a much greater importance, I would say, is your distribution and your branding on the ground as far as the decorative market is concerned.
So interesting times ahead. Mr. Abhijit Roy, we look forward to seeing you and speaking to you after the next quarter results, because the numbers speak louder, right? And your numbers have shown resilience this quarter. So no arguing with that. Thank you so much to both of you for joining in. Mr. Gupta, to you too, for that perspective.